Hello everyone, this is Space Cafe Podcast, and I am Marcus. Hey, so do you also like to be outdoors as much as I do? I must say I'm lucky to have an inexpensive hobby that is a pair of running shoes, and as many mountains as I can find are enough for me to get my soul back on track, if need be, now and then. And no matter if it rains or snows or the sun shines, everything, at least to me, has somehow its charm. But I know that there is at least one other person in my household who shares the hobby, but is a little bit of a different opinion in that respect. However, in general, we both have to admit that we live on a wonderful planet, don't we? A different story, though, will it be for the first settlers on other worlds, on Moon or Mars? It won't be as pristine and heartwarming, I guess, at least in the first couple of years. And I guess it will need a little more than a good pair of running shoes. What will life be like in such places someday? Will the buildings be similar to the ones here on Earth, or rather like the ones in science fiction movies? How will we live in them? Of course, people are trying to find solutions for just that, like my guest today, who was literally born for her job as a habitat architect.
My name is Mahsa, which means Mah means moon and Sa means as a look-alike, which my name is someone who looks alike moon.
My God.
Yeah.
Space architect Mahsa Moghimi Esfandabadi will give us a personal house tour of a typical extraterrestrial habitat today.
Good luck with that.
And after that, you can still decide if this is something for you or not. Have fun. The Artemis mission, as we know, is around the corner. So is there anything ready for the moon when it comes to habitats?
The Artemis missions are very close, but we don't have any surface long-term living, something like more than 10 days till Artemis 6, I guess, or Artemis 7, which is around 6-7 years from now. So we don't have, or at least I don't know if we have anything ready that they can use it right away, because there are lots of previous modules that they have designed and they have been used as analogs and mock-ups in NASA facilities, like Hera facility, which is for 4 crew to 8 crew, and it's aluminum hard shell, and they have been using that for a while. So they have that already. I mean, it has been tested and everything, and it is ready to be launched. But as we say, that something that has been recently designed and developed with the current needs, I'm not aware of that. But I was talking with a friend that despite how space industry looks from outside, and everything is happening very fast and very with highest technology, when you dig deep, it is very, very slow, because it needs to be tested and it needs to pass lots of high, super engineering, we call it over engineering process to make sure that nothing is going to happen to that structure, and then it's going to launch. So whatever we design now, best case scenario, it could be launching 15 years.
What's your job in all of this? I mean, sorry if I'm saying this in a very mundane way, but is it your task to build a house on the moon?
So that is a very hard question. So, if I want to simplify it, it would look like this. On Earth, when we have architects, sometimes you hire the architect to renovate your house. Sometimes you have plain property and you ask the architect to design from scratch, and then you have plenty of time and you move forward with the designer, and at the end you get what you were expected. So we have the same job in the industry too. So there are lots of aluminum hard shell modules in the market with NASA, with ESA, with Russia, even Japan. So we have those modules. So one of the jobs that people in my field they're currently doing is redesigning the interior of those to apply more human factors in it. That, for example, most of the NASA's interior, they're white and they're gray with blue handles, and they're not really ergonomically and visually friendly for the user. So they're redesigning those. Or, for example, companies like Bigelow and other space tourism activists, they're going to use the same module, but for example, they're going to turn it into a luxury hotel. This means that you need to, take that module and redesign the interior to make it a honeymoon suite or, I don't know, place for playing, I don't know, crazy basketball in the orbit or something like that. And this is the renovation part. But there are other designs like what I did with Search Plus, that we did it from scratch. That, hey, if we want to have the very first moon base, what is going to like and how it's going to shape, how we're going to deliver that, how we're going to print that. So that was really like building a real building on Earth, that we thought about the foundation, the walls, the isolation, and how we can protect it from severe temperature fluctuations, how it's going to have the window to look the Earth, and things like this.
Before you walk us through the building or the moon habitat of your dreams, you said you were printing the place in situ, that is on the moon. So you're not bringing the construction material with you, but you're using the regolith to actually construct the actual habitat. Is that right?
Partially, yes. So the technology that we're currently missing is that we cannot still print a 3D model that we can pressurize it. The biggest problem that we have on Mars and Moon is that the pressure over there is around 0.5 atmosphere or 1 point something atmosphere, comparing to 0.1 atmosphere, comparing to 1 atmosphere on Earth, which is 10 times lower. So any structure that we want to build over there, it needs to be pressurized so that our body doesn't explode. So we can't 3D print. I call them shelters, like umbrellas that protect you from sun, but we cannot do the pressurizing. So the one that we proposed, it include pressurizing with a specific method that the collaborators of our company, they were trying to figure it out how they're going to print it, and if that is feasible. That is going to really happen, because like the Earth, when you're designing on Earth, when you, for example, want to design something with a very long bridge, it is possible in architect's mind, because we know how the structure works and everything like that. But for example, with infrastructure, that it really going to make it happen, we're not sure about the contractor's side. So that is the same. We propose that, hey, with this method, all our studies, all our simulations, it shows that it is going to happen, and we're going to be able to pressurize that structure. But if in reality, we have not tested it yet.
Would the actual construction process be happening before the arrival of humans on the moon? So would that be a robotic mission, or would it be accompanied by humans?
In NASA's mission scenarios, we have different missions. One of them is, we call it science and research mission, which is basically they don't need to stay in one place. The their only job is to get on the rover and move around the Mars or Moon and see what's around and if they can find new stuff. So for those people, any habitat is going to be mobile and they're going to carry it with themselves. So there's no construction involving with those. And the crew is going to deploy those, and everything is going to be autonomous or manual with the crew. But we have settlement or for example, long-term missions that they're going to stay for more than 6 months. In that case, for now, the only thing that they need is that shelter to protect the inflatable from the sun. For that, it is going to be all autonomous by robots. So we assume that they're going to print that ahead of crew arriving, and then when crew arrives, it's like parking in garage. They move everything under that shelter and they deploy it and they start using it. There's another mission that, for example, after you have this kind of settlement, which is because these two missions should happen simultaneously, that, for example, for Moon, we're searching for water. And if we can get water out of the regolith, it means that you can have greenhouse, you can have fuel, and so on. But so far, there are not much surface missions to tell us that, hey, that spot has the most water, so we should make the settlement around there. So for the next, I don't know, maybe 20 years, we are not going to build a habitat from scratch, full autonomous by robots, because we need to find a spot first. But if we find it, then probably there are going to be lots of cargo missions that they just delivered. Lots of different machineries for construction that they're going to start building, and they're going to prepare the site for the future, I don't know, colony or mass settlement, if you want to call it.
Nice. So let's try to put ourselves into this future. So once we've found the proper place, the proper spot on the Moon and found water, we're ready to print that habitat and we're ready to bring crew to the place. What would this habitat look like once you're entering the door?
One side note, they're not going to be first crew. Probably they are going to be crew 200 or 300. Because lots of crew should come and go to find that spot and to make sure that that very spot that they want to start the construction is the best, and nothing can be better than that. So there's going to be the first crew that they're going to settle in that new structure, but they're not going to be the very first crew in general. So if we assume that the crew is going into the new habitat and, So I can describe what we designed with the Search Plus, that
sure.
It's going to be a large habitat because we were thinking that the small modules, if they want to stay in very tight environment, they can use those modules from the older missions. But for habitat, it needs to be very, very big, at least volumetrically. Volume per person, it needs to be big so that they won't be claustrophobic and they feel like home. I mean, most of the people, we were trying to include diversity. So now, except some cities and some countries, most of the people at their house is big. It's way bigger than, the comparison or the ratio of the volume to the person is very, very high. So we were trying to use the same ratio for the habitat. So it's not going to be tight. And, I can describe it when they walk in. There's going to be crew quarters, which is like bedrooms. But they're going to be a little bit smaller, but they have everything that you have in your bedroom. They have closet, bed, and internet, even TV, that you can do everything that you do now in your bedroom in those crew quarters. Then there's going to be bathrooms, again, like Earth. It's going to be probably tighter. There's not going to be a tub because we don't have that much water over there to get relaxed and get into the tub. But it's going to be a wonderful place to get rid of all the tiredness of your day. And we have working area, and but when we call it working area, it means that it's like mission control. If you see in movies that there are lots of monitors and people are typing very fast on keyboards and everything to connect and to report to Earth. But we were searching, and we found out that anything extraterrestrial, if it wants to enter to the habitat, it might contaminate the habitat and it might cause some kind of disease that we're not really aware of. So we have lab modules, which means that, for example, there's going to be a small greenhouse, a geology lab, or, for example, biology lab, things like that they can experiment. And it's completely isolated and it's completely closed and it's not connected directly to the habitat. And then for fun, it's going to be a large, something like a living room that they can gather together. They can watch TV. It's going to be a window that is facing Earth. We were even thinking about putting telescopes and things like that. And kitchen would be there. Anything fun that you can have with your family and friends on the Earth, you can have it there. So,
would the crew walk around in magnetic shoes, or how does that work with gravity on the moon?
No, they don't need that. The only thing is that their walking would look like jumping, like not jumping, like bunny walking. That it would be a little bit above the surface. So, for the flat surface, when they want to, for example, go from their crew quarters to the bathroom, they just walk normally. Well, when they want to go upstairs or downstairs, we were thinking like those fireman poles that they can come down if they have something necessary to do, or we were thinking that even a one-person elevator could be good and efficient space-wise. Otherwise, we can have stairs, which is very steep and it looks like ladder, and they can go up and down with that, because going up and down the stairs is not that hard, and the stair height could be way higher than what we have on Earth. There's no study that proves that. For example, we can now on Earth, the height of each stair is about 18 centimeter or 17 centimeter. But for example, if you convert it to the moon version, it would be around 20 something centimeter. So there are some debates in here that some believe that because our body has muscle memory, so the memory that dictates that we are able to do it 17 centimeter and not higher than that. But some people believe that after a while, the muscle memory will change and you can step up higher stairs.
When we look at the historic footage from the Apollo missions, it seems as if the Apollo astronauts on the surface of the moon move around in slow motion. So would the crew you're describing be walking around this place, the habitat, just the way we do? Of course, with the differences that you're describing when it comes to jumping or falling, but the speed and the movement would be the same, right?
Yes. The problem that Apollo crew had is because of the spacesuit and the high pressure, the interior high pressure that makes the controlling of the suit very hard. But inside of the habitat, you're not wearing anything. You're just walking with your t-shirt and shorts like Earth. So whatever you can do on Earth, you can do inside of the habitat too.
All right. For how long are those habitats, those first permanent outposts on the moon, designed? So how long should people be able to live there? Is there any time constraint on that when it comes to the construction material, degradation, and whatnot?
I'm not really 100% sure, but I assume that they're going to be built forever, because building those would take years with the current technology. So if one habitat, if you spend 6-7 years to build it, then it's not going to be, okay, that would live for 30 years and we're done. That means that 1/5 of the life of that structure has been lost because of the structure. So, and anything that, we expect to live short, it means that it needs high maintenance. So that would not be efficient for the crew, and that would be hazardous. Because I don't know, if any crack happens or things like that, that would threaten the life of the crew. So I assume that anything that is going to be built over there is forever.
Mm-hmm. To grow vegetable, would it be necessary to bring soil from the Earth, or would that also grow in lunar regolith or on lunar regolith?
One thing that I always mention is that we don't have the same kind of soil on Earth. That, for example, in Houston, soil is always moistured and it is more sandy. If you go to Colorado, it's more like rocky. And if you go to, I don't know, into Europe, it's different. It's the same thing on Mars and Moon. So you cannot expect to have the same regolith in different zones of the Mars or Moon. So if, for example, even if the samples of the Apollo mission shows that it is going to be good for plants, which is not, it is not proving that, for example, if you have it in Shackleton Crater in South Pole, it's going to be the same and you can grow it with the same regolith. No, it's not going to happen. So, and because of this, there are lots of, aeroponic and hydroponic, they're the best solutions that they're now using in Antarctica, and lots of analogs too. So the best, if they want to have a greenhouse to provide food, those two are the best for not experimenting. But if they want to really start experimenting, I believe that for Moon, it is not really possible. For Mars, maybe it's possible. It needs purification because, for example, you don't know what kind of organism might wake up or might be there when you grab that soil. So you need to bring it in, sterilize it, purify it with, for example, even on Earth, that, for example, you cannot grow, I don't know, sunflower everywhere, or you cannot grow cucumber everywhere. It needs the specific combination of the soil. The same thing for Mars regolith too. So you need to bring it in. If it has too much iron, too much copper, anything, you need to take that out, and then you should start your experiment.
Sure. This is maybe a wild guess, but would a lunar tomato or lunar vegetable taste the same as on Earth?
That is a hard question. Because our taste, our sense of taste is not going to be the same like Earth. So, even now for ISS, when you go to 0G, you lose your sense of smell and you lose your sense of tasting. And that is one of the reasons they put extra flavors into space food, because they can feel something after that. So for Moon, we expect that it is going to be somehow similar. We're not really sure that it is not going to be as smelly, as aromatic and as flavored like Earth. Even if it grows with the same quality, you're not going to be able to taste it like the same thing.
Is just out of curiosity, is this problem that you're losing those faculties like taste and smell, is that coming back?
Yes. It is mostly because of because of the 0G and how blood flows in your body, and the secondary it's because of the air around you. That, for example, on Earth you have a certain amount of humidity, combination of the gases and so on, but you don't have the same thing on ISS. For example, ISS humidity is way lower or sometimes way higher, and because of this combination it affects your sense. But when you're back on Earth, I mean, like walking, that they lose it for a while and they get it back. Sense of smell is like that too.
Nice. Mahsa, let's make a quick break here before we go to Mars, and let me ask you what did it take to get you where you are right now with all that knowledge? Because I mean, like, where do you educate yourself when it comes to building habitats on the moon or on Mars or wherever?
Academically, it was a long path. Not academically. So I entered the University of Houston aerospace architecture program, which is the only aerospace architecture program in the world. And I was the first person from the Middle East who got accepted in that program. I mean, after 30 years that they have that program, I was the first one. Because there are lots of restrictions because of ITAR and other stuff that we cannot really work after our graduations with space companies because of the restrictions.
Why did you make it? What was so special about you?
Because short answer is that Middle Eastern women don't give up. So
nice.
So they told me no. I insisted 3 years, and they said, "Oh my God, she is insisting too much."
Her again.
I've not seen anyone like her. That she sends us email all the time. I want to be in that program, so I got accepted after 3 years.
Wow, persistence. That is nice.
Yes, I mean, like I was telling everybody that I had 2 masters before that. I was university professor. I had my own company. I was making lots of good money. I had a beautiful life before space architecture. And then one night I found out about that, and I was just, oh my God, my life is useless, and this is what I need to pursue. So I gave up everything. I quit my job and I quit the university, and I told everyone, hey, I'm going to attend that program. And everybody laughed at me that, are you crazy? Why do you want to give up your luxury life and go and live like student? And I said, yeah, I'm going to do that. And now, after 3 years, I'm in a very bad situation financially because I'm not working that much, and I'm not in that, that was literally getting out of my comfort zone. So I tested myself at age of 36 that, hey, what will happen if you give up everything that you have gained in your life and you make it a new start? And that's where I am.
Why did you make that choice? Why did you give up your luxury life?
You reach to the point that you reach to that daily routine that you go to work, make money, come back, see your friends, and there is no bright horizon for that. It's just repetition of daily normal life, and it was boring. For the last 3 years, I was just, I don't want to do that again. It's interesting because, for example, as an architect, you see your buildings going from draft in a paper from really building. But I was thinking, is that what I want to do for the rest of my life? And the answer was no. So that is for getting an answer to that question, that was not what I wanted from my life.
I came across an MIT website page titling Persian domes for human space exploration on Mars. And there's a photo credit next to it with your name on it. So what's going on here?
So I was internshipping over there at Media Lab with Dr. Valentina Sumini and Dr. Ariel Ekbla. And we're thinking, I went there to join their project, which was Greenhouse on Mars competition project. And then we were thinking about different structures and so on. And one day when I was talking to Dr. Sumini, we were thinking that what kind of new structure we can apply. And then, as I mentioned, I have a master's of Middle Eastern architecture studies, and I know all the domes in my country and so on. We had to study those. So then I was thinking that, hey, this hemisphere domes are really boring and ugly, and why we're using it after all of these years? So we come up to the idea that what if we use other kind of domes that we have on Earth? So we picked the domes that we have in desert areas of Iran that they have been stand up for hundreds of years, and they haven't been, they are stiff enough to hold all of those earthquakes and everything. So we modeled those for Mars with Mars Regulus simulation, and we come up to the idea that, hey, yeah, some of these can replace the hemisphere one, and if we can find a solution to print them well, they can really hold a structure.
So that's a good place on Earth to start living in outer space. So let's go to Mars, because everyone wants to go to Mars these days. So I just wanted to find out your take on the place itself. Mars has been a place of longing for thousands of years for humans. So there must be some sort of connection between the places, Earth and Mars. Do you think that once Mars was habitable before something happened, whatever happened?
Yes. I think it was habitable, but not for human, for some kind of creatures, but maybe small. I don't think they were big, but I'm sure that there were organisms. I think I was reading a paper a couple of days ago that they found some kind of fungi, mushroom thing on the recent exploration of the rover. So I'm sure that there were some living organisms because there was water. But I'm not really sure if there was animals like Earth.
Fascinating. There was water. This is pretty obvious because you can still see the riverbeds, right? Is that like the most obvious?
Yes.
The indication?
Yes.
Okay. So Mars, to me, sometimes it seems like it's a post-apocalyptic place. Something must have happened at Mars, so it lost its atmosphere. Is there anything science knows about Mars? What could have happened? Was it perhaps a solar storm that blew away its atmosphere? Or could it have something to do with life on Mars? What do you think? Why is it void of everything?
I think whatever has happened to it doesn't matter for engineers. The only thing that matters that would be a matter of geologists, biologists, and so on. So for engineers, we call it, if there's no path, engineers should make a path. So whatever has happened on there, it doesn't really matter. If we want to go over there and make it habitable and make it an environment that we can survive, we need to do something. If that something could start with exploration or colonizing, if that thing could start with nuking Mars, or it can start with anything. That is the decisions of the, nations and engineers and so on. But it needs to start from somewhere.
What's the easier place to colonize, Moon or Mars?
That's a hard question. Because people, they say that I'm a Mars person, I'm a Moon person. I'm an architect. I'll build whatever it's possible. So it really doesn't matter if it's Moon or Mars. For Mars, it is in some aspect it's easier because of the combination of the regolith and the similarities to Earth. And but on the other side, it's very far. You need to have some other technologies like providing food and everything for Mars mission. So I think Moon is the closest future comparing to Mars, but Mars is going to be more sustainable future.
Has the Mars series that was airing a couple of years ago on a streaming platform,
National Geographic,
has that one been pretty much accurate? As far as one can say whatever is accurate, we don't have any proof, but what do you think?
I think it's very accurate. I don't agree with putting the habitat under the lava tubes under the ground. I'm very against
Why
the lava tubes. Because the problem with lava tubes is that you don't know what's going on in there. And if any earthquake happens, which is likely, and it's not something that you can say it's not going to happen, you're buried inside. There's no escape for that. So for my point of view, I don't like that part. And I think in one of the episodes, it was showing that the power was gone and they kind of lost their connection to the outside, and they were trying their best to get out of that elevator and go to the surface and make it enable. But I mean, you can see the hazardous part of that. Yeah.
If I took an apple seed and put it on Mars regolith and I watered it, would it grow?
No.
Why?
Because the combination of the soil is not proper.
So I would need to bring soil from the Earth, or would I need to treat the soil on Mars and make it work? What would be the strategy here?
Well, we cannot bring soil from Earth. The only thing we can do is that we can make more water on Mars, and we can use that water for aeroponic and hydroponic till we reach to the technology that we can use or filter and purify Mars regolith. I mean, one part of it is the regolith. The other part is that if you want to, for example, pour the regolith inside of the pot and put the pot inside of your lab and grow it there, or you can want to plant it on the ground. These are two different aspects. So if you want to do it in your lab, that's a lab experiment. It doesn't mean that you can make the Mars green. But if you want to make the Mars green, that's another huge scenario.
That's a beautiful transition I was going to segue into. That is terraforming. Is that still in the realm of science fiction? Terraforming meaning making or transforming a quote-unquote dead planet into a habitable planet. Is that something that's...
No.
I like your honesty. I like that. Thank you.
Because it's very far in technological aspect. It's like having an egg or a chicken. So you don't have atmospheric environment, and then you can't have the planet. You can't have the planet because you do. I mean, that is a circle. So if you can provide enough oxygen for the plant, and I mean, we can see in lots of artistic renders that there is something like a inflatable, like a tent on the ground, and trees are growing on the soil. But the reality is that you cannot seal that tent to the ground. Oxygen is going to leak through the soil and it's going to disappear, and you need to pump oxygen all the time. And that is not so far really economically or logically approvable. So, or on the other hand, if you just want to, I don't know, put a plant outside, it's atmospheric, and then you have the weather, the temperature fluctuation. There are lots of different factors that you need to make sure everything is going to happen in small scale, and then make it bigger scale. You were mentioning this series, so I think what Expanse is showing from Mars is more realistic. The surface is going to be the same. Anything they have is going to be inside of the man-made structures.
For plants, Mars would be the sweetest cookie of them all, right? With a 98% atmosphere made out of CO2. But of course, that's not the whole thing.
That is one factor from lots of other factors, yes.
All right. So if you had to choose between Moon and Mars, where would your future destination be if you were asked to go?
Mars. I always tell people that I prefer to die on Mars than live on Earth. So
how probable is that? I mean, like in your lifetime, to see permanent habitats on Mars or on Moon?
Maybe next 40 years.
So that's realistic.
Yes. I mean, maybe that can come closer because some technologies, they revolutionize every industry. And if we can reach to some kind of revolutionize, technology that can, speed up the rockets going back and going back, or speed up 3D printing, or speed up cargo delivery, one of these can make living there happen sooner.
One of our guests here on the podcast once said that we shouldn't waste our time with researching and trying to find solutions for habitats on stellar objects because it's too difficult. There are too many constraints when it comes to temperature, too many constraints when it comes to all those issues that you've been mentioning. So why waste one's time trying to find a solution here and not invest all that possibility and all that money in artificial habitats, that is spaceships?
Yeah, but the problem with that is that, for example, now with SpaceX rockets, the maximum diameter that you can launch is about 8 meters. That is basically around 2 bedrooms. The length of 2 bedrooms. So that would be very, very small. And,
so you would need to build something in space.
I think that there are 2 aspects. If you just want to be, for example, in hotel rooms, when you go to the hotel room, it's very small. You don't get claustrophobic or you don't get depressed because of living in a hotel, because you know that you're going to live there for a couple of days and then you're going to get rid of that. And mostly you live there, you just go to the hotel to sleep and to, have some rest. Your main activity is outside of that room. And we don't call hotel room habitats. That is the same thing with the habitats and rocket or hard shell modules too. So you can use hard shell modules as hotel rooms if you get on your EVA and your rover and you wander around, but you cannot call that house or a home. So you need home to call it, to stay there for 6 months, 2 years, more than that. And that is the difference. So I disagree with that opinion.
Sure. What drives you every day to go to work and do your thing when it comes to extraterrestrial habitation? What's your personal motivation?
That is hard because
your boss is not listening.
So no, I have started working in an Earth architecture company. So I'm not working in terrestrial company in the past 2 weeks. The only thing is that I like the terrestrial activities is that you research every day, you read papers, you enter conferences, you listen to new ideas, and some idea that you get in some conference, it just fires a new idea on your mind. Oh my God, why I have not thought about it like that? Or wow, if that can happen, then that could maybe revolutionize the industry, and then you start digging deeper and deeper. So I like that part, that I open my browser, I go to the conferences pages or ResearchGate and so on and see what's the new paper that I can read and I can see in the industry. That is the hugest difference between Earth architecture and the terrestrial one. That on Earth, the only book that you go as the American standards that the thickness of the wall should be like that and the window should look like this. But for terrestrial, you have lots of factors.
Nice. Mahsa, we do have a fun tradition at the end of our show, and that is this place, podcast is called Space Cafe Podcast. And if you go to coffee places, sometimes if you want to energize yourself, you ask for an espresso. And an espresso energizes yourself, inspires perhaps. So I would like to ask you for your space espresso. When it comes to science, when it comes to space, when it comes to inspiration, what is it that you would like to share with me and with the audience from the bottom of your heart?
What can energize people? I think, it depends. For me, is that... oh my God, can you hear my dog?
What's her name? Or his name?
His name is Hirao, or I call him Goof. He's eating his breakfast now and he's making lots of noise.
That's fine.
So I have given up my past life. I call it before space architecture and after space architecture. So I have given up before space architecture life, and I'm in my the other life. So in this life, the only thing that matters and makes me wake up every day and do what is very hard to do, but I should do, is that there are not much people that they're actually doing stuff. Lots of people, they're just idealizing, and they're just talking. If you check the papers, there's not much going on in reality. So wake up, make something happen.
Build something.
Exactly. Build something or try to build something. If you don't have the financial resources, try to build something.
Wonderful, Mahsa. It was so great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for that inspiration.
Thank you. God, he's very sloppy and he's making lots of noises.
What about pets on the moon or Mars? Is that also something being considered? Budgies, cats, dogs? Interesting, but a different story, I guess. Thank you all for listening in today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, as always. Jump over to SpaceWatch.Global for the latest space news. If you like what we do, maybe leave us a rating on Apple Podcast. For now, let's call it a day. Thanks for being with us. In any case, thanks for your support. See you next time.